Hi, yeah, this is a quick one, not prepared very well, but here it goes, yeah. I don't, when I was talking about some things, alright, okay, never mind. This one's about a guy, I don't know much about these guys, right, but there's a guy called Wim Hof and another guy called Jordan Petersen, yeah. Now, I've seen Jordan Petersen knocking around. I saw the interview with Kathy Bates, which I tried to give a spin on and try to give my own view, and I'm going to do that again now, because it might go to my case in point, yeah. What is it? See, Wim Hof, yeah. From what I understand, I don't know much about it. It's all about the male guy, yeah, re-engaging with himself. No, it's not just males, really. Women can do this as well. It's not it's not what we call the appearance type thing, you know, like, you know, that's a man, that's a woman. Because I know it sounds going to sound really weird, but the feminine aspect of, and the masculine aspect, if you like, of our life, you know, it's not maybe as clear cut as we might expect it to be. Yeah, you know, it's a different type of arrangement. That hence those people that, you know, that like to go and identify as this, identify as please, that's going to hurt you an awful lot. You know. You know, you're just doing something else, something else's job for it, you know. It did it up in Longshanks, did it, I think, in Northern England at one time, to the Jewish population that were up there, and I had to go around with stickers and things, and, you know, like, and I think that was one of the first, you know, when they were chased out. And I rather think that in the north of England, when they were chased out, I think they probably went straight over to, yeah, my town, and I might be one of them, you know. I don't know, I think I'm Gaelic, you know, the negative rhesus thing, you know, so I think I'm Gaelic, you know, or one day, and I assume that, you know, but it could be something else. So the Wim Hof thing, you know, for me, how I see that is some sort of a new chrysalis type butterfly arrangement, you know, somebody tries to re-engage with themselves and whatever, and wants to become strength and whatever, and that's all that's all that's the will, yeah, but and that's great, but my problem with this is that there's no point in having the will, because, you know, with will goes with necessity and then evolution. But if you've got the will for yourself, it's going to be very difficult if you don't recognize the necessities that are in front of you. And the necessities right now are, you know, I don't think we don't have a clear angle on what those necessities are, implicitly or explicitly, you know. Because when you start saying that we should do this to the Irish government, we should do that, we should do this and get the army to chase the guards out and things like that. Please understand that there's another operation going on right in there, yeah? And that type of engagement, about that destructive sort of approach to things, has actually been fed into you, you know, but through language and stuff like that. And I know it's very, very difficult to contemplate, but, you know, there's been a lot of manipulation with the language and what have you, and I'm going to try and fix that out for, you know, let's say, in my view, yeah, I'm going to try and fix that out and just put it down for my view of me as a man and stuff like that. But not necessarily, when you say man, don't forget there's this feminine aspect and the masculine aspect is a different type of play, in my view, yeah. Okay, so with the Wim Hof thing, this chrysalis, this re-chrysalis to this new butterfly type of, you know, this metamorphosis to get into that new thing. You need a necessity, you know, otherwise you're going to, you know, these guys that are strong and, you know, and sort of want to re-engage with themselves and with their own, you know, just to bring their alpha back in and not even talk about it then, because they are that, if that makes sense. You don't have to use that terminology anymore, because you are that, yeah? You don't really need to talk about you know, alphas and stuff like that, because the alpha in the house is the one that everybody's going to look to when they're in trouble. That's when the shit hits the fan. Whoever the whole group looks to, that's the alpha. It's not, somebody can't come up and just say, I'm the alpha, or this, I'm the alpha. And yet when I say it to you, I'm trying to say that it's in you, yeah? Yeah? In a different way, perhaps. It'll be different to us. And so, a lot of those guys, those strong guys that want to, you know, to make themselves more, you know, use their will to bring about a better you, if you know what I mean. Like, you can't expend it through real necessity. So you get sort of, and the real necessity is what I'm really trying to show you, you know, and I can't really engage with it at the moment, yeah. there is a real necessity, and it's to chase this fucking demon out. I mean, yeah, but so it's not going to really work, you know, because you'll be there standing there and then say, what do I do next? When you're all strong and all that crack, yeah? And you've got your A back and you run up to talk about it and you're just like this. You might relegate yourself to an octagon, like one play those octagons, with the shapes and all that crack, you know, and you just fight it all out in there and stuff like that. And that's a bit sad, I think. It's all games and stuff like that, but allow me to I want to just do it, maybe a bit of a shout out, you know, to people in Ireland. When I was talking about the old ways of life in Ireland and stuff like that, they were journeymen, yeah, like travellers, yeah, and there were other people that lived in towns and other people that travelled and stuff with skills and artisans and craftsmen. They would come there to do all the, you know, fix your metalwork or the copper. Well, copper was a big deal back a long time ago, yeah. And stuff like that. And these guys would just journey around, you know, from town to town and stuff like that. And then everybody brings their shit out and so, can you fix this for me, you know, do this sort of thing. And that type of thing, sort of, you know, it was just a natural occurrence over, let's say, 18th century, 17th century, and it was just the way that life worked, you know. Some people travel, some people like to, you know, sit down, yeah, and stay in one place. They like the, you know, horses for courses, you know. But the other thing about it is that with those things, and this is very impressionistic for me because I grew up with this. Yeah, it's not a thing. Like I grew up with the changeover from, you know, an old way of life with the old Gaels who used to go around, you know, travel around and what have you, with their own uniqueness, their own way of singing their words out, you know, and totally alien to me because I'm sitting in a fucking town somewhere, you know what I mean, and it's us and them and that type of engagement, yeah. Back in the day, but and in some respects, it was actually fostered in us because when you get the townies and people from the town and all that, with the new education and this new life that's going to kick in within the last 100 years or 100 or so years. But when I was growing up, it was very much, even when I was very young, there was still the old Gaels, yeah, still, I mean, really old Gaels. Like, I mean, their paradigm would be entirely different. And I'd like to address some of that paradigm now. Because when I was talking about Aristotelianism and building up the person, you talk about Wim Hof. Just bear in mind, and then people go out and to do this sort of stuff, but just bear in mind that this particular, in my view, now it's impressionistically, you know, but it's impressionistically, but I've had physical evidence, let's say that. I'm sorry. I've had physical evidence of somebody else's Aristotelian atlas, you know. But what I need to explain to you is that their final cause and their efficient cause is all wrapped in one. Their will and their strength, the formal cause, the material cause, like the, you know. So from chicken, not from birth. I mean, literally, you know, it's a tough life, and it is a tough life. It's just all this complacency we have because stuff has been fed to us as a lure, you know. But these guys were, you know, like, and you wouldn't really know, but it's already in them, you know. The strength is already there, but their engagement in the world is as before. It's all Gallic, yeah. But you go over to the new wave that's coming in. That's going to come in there in the 18th and 19th century, and then into the 20th century, and all that turnarounds there. And there's a huge shift, you know. There's a huge shift in the way people look at their lives, yeah. And I'd just like to say that, you know, that was they were strong men, and they were men. And their dialect, there was a particular, how do I explain? A particular energy against it. You know, it's not an energy; it's just an inherent strength. You know, in the dialect that was the way it approached the life. You know, like really, and to hear it, it's. And I wouldn't like to miss. I wouldn't like that to go away. You know, I love the cultures. You know, I think, you know, like the colour is great. You know, the colour of the whole engagement with people, you know, we're going to lose all this stuff. We're going to be fucking norms, you know, devices, mathematical devices in a world that's just slicing you up, differentiating you and integrating you. Diversity means diversity, you know, truth, essence. So all the system is doing is splitting you up, turning you into data, yeah, and reintegrating you with language, rules, laws, all that stuff, yeah? And that is the man, and it's not the man, it's the other guy. When you need to, and you need to, open your mind a bit in order, and then the necessity, you see the necessity, but I'm going to help with that. Sorry, I just need to do this quickly, I know, see, things got turned upside down in some respects, because the order of the vowels is important to me, so false becomes the first one, true becomes the last one, bad becomes the first one, good becomes the last one. So how this sort of objective good, there's no objective good, there's an internal A, that's ba, black sheep, ba, it's a fucking lamb, sheep, yeah? I mean, this is an old thing. When I go through the A, E, I, O, U, A is you, yeah? It's difficult to do. A is you, E is your body, yeah? Emotion, how do you, yeah? E is your motion, and I is any inspiration, or whether you think it's inception, So you got A, E, I, yeah? O and U are outside of you, out, O-U-T. The first three connect with the idea of Trinity. So in my view, in my little imaginary world, it's not Patrick giving the shamrock to the Celtics. It's the Celtics giving the shamrock to Patrick. Patrick wouldn't have had a clue what they're talking about. But they just needed to be assimilated into the Borg, You see, the Roman magistrates left in 425, yeah, around about when Patrick kicked in, yeah, and they needed to re-engage that. Rather like Constantine, they're losing the military advantage, they need to flip it over to take the person itself, yeah, so they need to engage with the three, like the A, E, I, it's the Poseidon's trident, yeah, and then the OU is outside of it, it's totally fucking outside. It's a difficult concept. It's not even a concept, it's an internal acknowledgement, and I'm going to try and do that later on when I do something else, which you might have to repeat. You don't have to, but just repeat it. But to repeat it, you might understand that you are it, and then things might open up and it might become a little bit upsetting for you. I hope not. I hope you have the strength to get through this, But you got to watch my videos from the very start, not from the very start. Don't do the cred ones, just do the other ones. But if you want to engage with me on a one-to-one, you've got to understand me like I've got to understand you, yeah? For so our terms are similar, and our understanding and our meanings are similar, yeah? So I just put a bit of me in the first three videos. If you're happy not to engage, I'm happy to take on trust. But if you want to engage, that you've got to know me and I've got to know you. So all this, little replies and comments and stuff like that, we're in a different world, you see. We're in separate worlds, separate ways. I can see it in some of the comments that come to me, Okay, so the next thing was, the Jordan Petersen video with Kathy Newman. Kathy Newman, for me, she just comes across as, the conceptual things, So she wants to fill his stuff into her concepts, or impose her concepts on top of that, because she is talking about something. He was in the something. He was part of the act. Like, he was the guy looking at this, yeah? Him and the earth. The way I put it is E-R-T-H. Because he's alpha, there's E-R-T-H, yeah? And when you talk about that type of thing and the earth, A-E-R-T-H, like she would engage with that, because she's already Cartesian. In other words, she's got a blank screen straight away. And so does Hume. It's a blank screen straight away, yeah? Because Hume dealt with the physical, yeah? There's a blank slate. Tabula rasa it's called, yeah? But they didn't recognize that Descartes started with a blank slate, with nothing, and then started introducing everything. But in the other place, you end up with a blank slate and you can discover, in Hume's place. But in Cartesian, you end up with a blank mind and you've got to prove everything that is outside that in a perfect world. Because God's word, according to Descartes and according to Plato, was perfect. He was perfect geometrically, which is total bollocks. You just need to read your man from Thrace, It's up there, as above, so below, as above, so below. So they come along, like this, we say what below is. You're in that world, and they're all zeros. The BU, they're not B's, the BUs. Bureaucrats. It's in the title. says. Anyway, so she's trying to impose impose other things. So what you're saying is, and he's saying, no, I'm not saying that. I am not saying that. But she needs it to put in her language. Well, she's got all these fucking packages, these platonic things that she needs to fill with stuff, irrespective if it's a scientist, a policeman, fucking general from some war, or just she's got this thing. Yeah, it's already extruded and in her head. So what she wants to do is to extrude your shit in through her concepts, or impose them back onto the thing. So what you're saying is. And he said, no, that's not what I'm saying. Because he's in the act. He knows what he's been doing. Yeah? She's about the act. She's just there on Channel 4, nothing. Why is he even talking to her? I never understood that. Why? I just don't understand that. Do the book, send it out and all that crap. Done. To engage with that type of mind is just, it's a mind. You have to look at the ghost. There's no ghost there. And if there is a ghost there, you've got to see what colour it is, And if you don't speak from the heart, there's, there's something not right. It's not a, she's not, this is not going to work. Anyway, I'm not explaining this quite correctly. And they're just animals, yeah? She talks about life. Petersen is in life and part of it, yeah. I think that's it. I needed to do this pretty quick because I just need when I was talking about Intel, yeah, Intel. That's Intel means L, in, yeah? Now, that's not mashing numbers and all that stuff and, this intelligent design that gets transferred into numbers and O's and angles and ripping out some, signs that were used in Greek, or ripping out words that are in the thing to create your own cult. It is a cult. It is a peace thing. There's all this, imagine you're at the minute one of those guys, the theorists, yeah, imagine that you're not allowed to use imagination. Plato said you cannot use imagination. Cannot use opinion. Opine. Yeah? O, which is outside. Pine. Yeah? Opine. When you add an ION to it, it's an abstract opinion. I know this is opinion witness. I was, trained on this type of thing. Opinion witness, expert witness type of thing. Yeah. So I think that's that. There was not an awful lot. She's talking about ideas and stuff like that. Now I need to understand. And I is a big thing. A is inside you. E is the stuff, the formal. In Plato's, I would be the. God. A is Plato's final cause, purpose. Yeah? Which is. Oh gosh, it's different taxonomies, you see. I'm trying to whack them all together. The easiest one is A. A, E. That's your body, material and formal cause. I is, if you like to think of it as inception, inceive, or perceive, as you think, or conceive. And it's alright to conceive with perceive, yeah? But you can't. You cannot conceive. Eve. Work it out yourself, yeah? I is, A-E-I is the Trinity. Yeah, I is inception or in spiritus, whichever way you like to look at it. O and U is outside of you, yeah? So that's opine, yeah? I don't understand if you understand the pineal type thing, yeah? It's not like E is all the stuff that you have. Hearing, the sight, the taste, the touch, and whatever. That's all part of your body, yeah? You engage in that. But then you got the inception or in spiritus, if you like, and that's pine. That's the only thing there that's not split. Yeah, everything's hemisphere. Even Descartes, I think, he said this is in here, and they try to work this out with the pine and how it connects right down to the sacrament, or there's a sacrament, whatever like that. I'm going to leave it at that. I think I've said enough. Okay, I'm sorry I wasn't that prepared for it, but I had a hangover yesterday and I just went bananas on the videos. But I must say again, in order to understand what I'm saying, you have to go back to the start of my videos. There's no, otherwise we're entirely different understandings. Yeah. Thank you.